You guys have had a great season so far. You only have 6 losses on the season. You've had some high rankings of when the rankings come out. What's it been like to be a part of a team that's had a lot of success?
Oh, it's fun. We all feed off each other. It's going pretty well so far. We've played a lot of good teams, and it's been great. We just got to keep it rolling into the postseason.
Now, you've been one of the players who've contributed a lot to the success. It seems like your name is always on the score sheets. You're helping out a lot and having a lot of great games. What is it like to have to keep your level of play up like that, especially kind of once you're established as one of those players who contributes to have that success day after day? How are you able to do that?
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, extra work that you put in. It's coming in and being independent and getting everything done on your own. Yeah.
What are some of the challenges of being a college athlete? I know it's not easy to manage schoolwork, a social life, and also be a high competitor in the sport that you participate in. What are some of the hardest parts about managing that?
Well, for me personally, right now, I'm not in a lot of school. I'm fortunate that I'm ahead enough that I can just take 7 credits, but earlier in my years, it was tough to juggle classes because we're on the road a ton, missing because of weather. We have already had a ton of games rescheduled. It's honestly nuts, but it's tough. And then you got to come home after a long road trip. Sometimes you're getting home at 9 o'clock in the morning. You got to get up and go to class. No sleep, sleeping on a bus with a bunch of smelly dudes after a game. It's not fun traveling at all, but I mean it's one of the best experiences I've ever had. It's great. I love it.
Now, you mentioned weather and the cancellations. This is obviously an issue that we have in Minnesota. It seems like year after year after year, especially this year, has been very tough. What is that like to try to manage the schedule, kind of the way that your body is at the moment in time and preparing for games when you have stuff canceled and rescheduled, and sometimes you might not know until, almost the last minute? I mean, how does that affect your game and the team's game, and kind of how you manage that compared to some other teams who maybe get to play a more regular schedule without as many cancellations?
We go by the motto, be on call. We have no idea. We could leave in an hour from now, right now, because right now we don't even know if we're going to Crookston or not. They might be coming here now. Did I ever think we were going to be picking up home games? I have no idea, especially after last year. I think we played 4 total home games, but yeah, it's tough. Like, a lot of guys meal prep when you're making chicken for the week, and then you end up on the road, it goes bad, so I don't know. It's tough to eat when you're on the road a lot.
So, like we talked about, you guys have had a great season so far. Even the teams who have great seasons do have low points in the season or struggles that certain players may go through, or the team as a whole. Through the season, the success that you've seen, what have been some of the harder parts, either for you as an individual or overall as a team?
Yeah, as an individual, obviously in baseball you fail 70% of the time. It's crazy. It teaches you a lot about life. So you just got to not get too high on the highs and not get too low on the lows. You're never as bad as you think you are, and you're never as good as you think you are. As a team, we hit a little rough patch, losing a couple games in a week, but we came out of it and we're looking good right now. So again, not get too high on the highs, not too low on the lows.
So the 2 teams you have coming up here is going to be Crookston, we should put a little asterisk next to that, I guess, and then Minot. You guys have played Minot earlier in the season. You did beat them, but what do you expect out of these 2 teams? What do you hope to see from them? What do you hope your team does against these teams?
Oh, it's going to be a battle. Crookston is they are on the uprise lately. They're like 5th in the conference, I think, and they're playing really well. They beat really good teams, Augie, Mankato. And then Minot, they're always a scrappy team. It gets a little chippy with us or them. And we played them once in Arizona, and we shut them down pretty well. And it'll be fun. It'll be a fun game.
Now, one last question, coming into the home stretch of the regular season here, what are some improvements either you're hoping to make to your game or overall as a team, or are things just going great right now and you're just hoping to keep them as they are? What are you hoping to see down the stretch here?
For myself, I want to be more consistent, and I think a lot of guys want to be more consistent offensively. The bats were a little cold last week, but we picked it up. The last series, I think it was Who did we play last series?
Who did they play last series?
Bemidji, yeah. Picked it up against Bemidji, and we're hitting the ball hard right now, so we've got to keep that going.
So what are your overall thoughts on the season so far? You guys have had a great season. You've had some high rankings when the rankings come out. Only 6 losses on the season so far. Still a bit of a ways to go, but what are your overall thoughts at this point?
My overall thoughts is that I think we're doing everything as expected. I think we came into this year and we knew that we were going to have a good year. We have a great group, a core of seniors. We have a great pitching staff. We have a great 1 through 9 lineup, and we got guys on the bench that can also come in and play a big part for us. So that was the biggest difference for us this year, is the depth that we've had and just the overall senior leadership that we have with all 14 seniors that we have. So I would say right now we're doing everything as expected, maybe a little above expectations that we've had, but overall we're doing what we need to do.
So your role on the team, talk about some of the highlights of what you get to do and some of the challenges you faced in your role as well, trying to get these guys to the success that they've had so far this season.
Well, I'm the pitching coach, so that's kind of my position here. Biggest challenge for us is last year we kind of came off a season where there was a lot of guys injured. We came into this year when I earned the job in July. One of the first priorities for me was making sure that everybody was healthy. Especially with all the injuries last year and knowing that the seniors we had and the big year that we could have, we just got to make sure that everybody's healthy. So I kind of oversee the pitching staff, make sure they're staying healthy, make sure they're staying on task, but we have such good guys that are very disciplined and they're very self-driven. So for me, I've always told our guys that the less relevant I am, that means I'm doing my job. And that's pretty much the case this year, and I think the stats and the way we've been playing pretty much show.
So you kind of just touched on it there a little bit, but if you could elaborate a little bit more, how are you feeling about the pitching overall on the team right now? Is there any improvements that need to be made down the stretch, or are you comfortable with what they've been doing so far?
I'm very comfortable. I mean, they say never be comfortable, never be satisfied, but as far as a pitching staff, our 1 through 15 that we have, we got a couple redshirt freshmen. There's anybody that we can put out on the field, and we put our guys in the best position to succeed, but for all of our guys, there's really not anybody on our team I don't have faith in going out there and doing. As far as improvements, there's always little things to work on, but as an overall pitching staff, we're doing everything that we need to do to help our team win.
So sometimes what I think people don't always realize is that winning isn't always easy. I think people always assume that the good teams are just good and that's how it is, right. But there's a lot of things that go into getting that success and maintaining that success. What are some of the challenges about kind of once you're established as one of those better teams, quote unquote, what are the challenges of keeping your play at that level, or the team's play?
Well, Coach Dolan, we'll start first off with him, is he's unbelievable establishing a winning culture, not only on the field but off the field, but a lot of the credit goes to the players, but mostly Coach Dolan. Since he's been here in his tenure, he's an unbelievable coach. He understands that guys have a life outside of baseball, but we have a lot of baseball junkies on our team, so he's just really good at letting the guys play. He understands that people are going to make mistakes physically and mentally on the field as long as we correct them, but for his elongated time that he's been here, the reason he's been so successful is not only he just gets really good guys and he has a really good feel for getting guys who are the right fit, but we recruit really well, we recruit hard, and we're starting to take strides to the development side of things for our younger guys, which as a pitching coach, I'm really excited about and Coach Dolan's excited about. But I would just give a testament, the reason he's had so much success is that we work really hard, from the pitching staff, coaching staff, all the way down to all of our administrators. I mean, everything going on here is just awesome.
Now, the upcoming matchups that you guys have are against Crookston and Minot. You've already played Minot earlier in the season and had success against them. What do you expect to see out of those two teams? And granted, you know, it was a little while since you've seen Minot. What do you expect to see out of those teams and out of the Huskies?
You know, about 4 or 5 years ago, I played in this conference about 7, 8 years ago. It used to be a thing where your top 1 through 5 teams were pretty much cemented, and then everything else was kind of battling for the last couple spots. The thing that I really like about this conference nowadays is that 1 through 14, 15 teams that are in the conference. It's anybody's game on any given day. Minnesota Crookston, they've got a good lineup. They've got a couple good players coming back. We'll see a couple of their top pitchers. In a 3-game series, it's really our goal. One of our goals this year was to never lose back-to-back games, in which we've done a pretty good job of this year. That's our main goal. We always want to leave with a sweep, and I think anything less than a sweep for our guys is not acceptable, which is why we're successful. Minot, they're a good team, 1 through 9. They can hit the ball really well. They did a great job of recruiting. They got some really good pitchers out there, but these next 5 games are definitely not going to be gimmies, so we got to go out and play, do what we're doing. Our last couple series, our bats are starting to come back around. We had a couple weeks there where we just kind of got out of our groove, but I think guys are finding themselves again, and if we have our lineup going and our pitching staff just keeps doing what we're doing, we're going to be pretty tough to beat.
Now, as we come into the home stretch here of the regular season and move into the postseason, what are you hoping to see out of the Huskies? Is there any changes that need to be made, or is there things that you hope consistently keep happening here as the season winds down? What do you see this team looking like here in these final matchups as the season comes to a close?
Well, you said consistency. For us, that's our biggest thing. I think that's why, as a pitching staff, fielding, defensively, and 1 through 9 in our lineup hitting, we've been so successful. We kind of do a thing here where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, especially when things were playing well. One thing with our guys is that they grind when we're down behind in games. There's going to be a few times the rest of the year where we might be down, but our guys just are really good at, we kind of said it, they kind of just suck the soul out of guys, because they'll score some runs and then we'll score some runs. And when the opposing pitching staff has that, it's like, man, what do I got to do to keep these guys, put a 0 up on the board? But for us, we're just going to stay consistent with what we're doing, because it's been working really well for all of us.
What are some of your thoughts on the season so far? You guys have had a lot of success, had some high rankings when the rankings come out. What's been some of the good parts of the season?
Our team has been very aggressive early in games. I know our pitchers come out right away. That's what starts us when they come out. They give us a nice clean frame, and then our offense usually gets going early too. Defensively, our guys just make plays, all the way around. You can have good pitching and still have a bad outing because of the way baseball works. So, you hit a little doinker to third and our third baseman picks it up, or, a gap shot, even though it maybe wasn't hit very hard, just its placement alone. And our defense really helps out our pitching. Our pitching helps out our offense, and, just the whole thing just keeps going.
Now, like I said, you guys have had a lot of success, but that's not always easy, especially with the weather and cancellations, and the schedule is sometimes inconsistent and kind of fluky with the way things all end up working out. Either you're not playing where you're supposed to, or you're playing on a different day than you're supposed to. As a team, how do you guys have to manage kind of that and being on your toes all the time, not really knowing exactly all the time when you're going to play?
Yeah, that's Coach says, be on call. So that's kind of our motto. And as far as the weather goes, we have some new Arizona JUCO guys that have to learn to play in cold weather. We got a guy from Las Vegas, that same deal. Some of us have been playing in cold weather since we grew up, and we're used to that. But it's not like basketball where you go to a court and you play a game. It's frost coming out of the field, it's snow, it's shoveling the field, it's doing whatever you have to do to play a ball game.
Now, just because you guys have had success doesn't mean that it's always easy to maintain that consistency, especially like we talked about with the weather. What are some of the challenges about kind of once you get established as one of those better teams, what are some of the challenges of maintaining that throughout a season?
Staying consistent, whether it's with our pitching, our hitting, or whatever, we have to continue to prove it. That's kind of our senior motto. Kind of when we break down before games, we just have to keep proving it. So, we beat a couple good ranked teams early, and all of a sudden everyone's coming after us. And being one of the higher teams isn't always easy, because everyone comes to the field like, oh, we want to beat these guys, we want to beat these guys. And as the team that's trying to not lose, it's you don't have that same energy. But our goals from the beginning was to try to win that regular season conference, maybe host the regional, and just kind of see where it goes from there.
And one last question, you guys have Crookston and Minot coming up. You've already beat Minot earlier in the season, but it's been a little while since you've seen them. What do you expect to see out of these two teams, and what do you expect to see out of the Huskies as well?
They're both good teams. They know how to battle, both of them. They have good offenses. We'll get Minot midweek, so we'll see how that rolls as far as their pitching staff goes. But Crookston should be fully loaded, and I'm sure that Minot's going to save some of their top dogs for us as well. They're both looking to kind of come out and make themselves known as, as a team. I know Crookston's up there this year, so they got a good squad. Minot, same deal. I think they have more seniors than we do, which is pretty impressive because we have 14. So they'll both be good teams. It'll be a good test, but I think we're ready for it.